You know what? I'm confounded, perplexed, and confused at what we are coming to. Here you will find treasures of an eclectic variety, all put together for you to help tie up loose ends and to enable perfect the raw edges that often need a brushing up of. What are the values we have inherited? What are we passing down to generations following? Do we really have ours in place to be able to do so? Does running over everyone to get ahead spell success? Does speaking offensively and being uncouth and rude prove our power or right of control? What about chivalry? You know, the kind of very polite and courteous things that men would do for women, like open doors for her, pull out a chair for her to sit on, promptly give her a clean handkerchief the minute her eyes well up with tears. What happened to that? What about the saying, manners maketh a man? Is service with a smile just a cliched jargon nowadays? Has hooliganism, distasteful and disgusting, coarse behavior become the trend and fad of the day? Do these attitudes bring on a new sense of achievement of power? Does it make one fit in with the crowd? Or does it enhance and improve one's appearance? Or extend a hand in building relations? I wonder. These questions I've found me asking myself, I think because I've had the good fortune of having it done for me. Yes, I did feel awkwardly embarrassed at the start, but it definitely made me feel good. I do miss it at times, but I must say that I'm mostly blessed to have wonderful men around me who haven't forgotten their manners and etiquette in making a lady feel a queen. There may be many of you who know what I mean and may have or still ask yourself similar questions. For those of you young ladies who have missed the experience extended or are beginning to get a feel of the undercurrent, I would say, guess what? There is hope yet. All is not lost. I trust that for every situation, there lies a solution. So today, come away with me as I divulge, giving you informative revelation, aiming at bringing to light some kind of resolution. Come on. Let me give you a glimpse into this thing that we call manners and etiquette, so often taken for granted, is really all about. Let me call it a perceptive or an awareness to help us grasp its fine distinction and nuances, and thereby helping you to be able to accept and value it even more. In my recent research, it appears that 90% of us almost always are at our best behavior only 90% of the time. The 10% of the time, when we don't give off the remaining 10% best, is what is being noticed and needs to be redressed or ironed out, lest we lose more. We have all been brought up with a hint of an opinion, an impression, a notion of what good manners are, or what it is meant to be. Let's do a quick check here on what does one mean by manners. And are manners really still essential in this day and age? Etiquette and manners, do they stand for the same thing? Do they go hand in hand? Emily Post, one of America's most influential writers on etiquette, said, "Manner is personality, the outward manifestation of one's innate character and attitude towards life. Manners are made up of trivialities of deportment or behavior, which can be learned if one doesn't happen to know them. Manners can also be termed to be an expression of one's inner character, whereas etiquette is a set of rules dealing with the exterior outer self. Manners and etiquette are interrelated and can be considered as going hand in hand, but are not entirely the same. As confusing as it may seem, in simple terms, manners are common sense, a specific know-how, while etiquette is a set of rules acting as a guiding code covering manner of talking, behavior, and living a type of interaction or response to a situation. A sneak peek into the origin of hows and whys of manners and how it came into being I would like to share, as it would certainly help comprehend and possibly give an additional, if not new, acceptance of the existence of this very essential thing called manners and etiquette. So, for a clearer understanding, let me take you back to a few centuries. Codes of behavior have always been a concern for over thousands of years. Several Greeks and Romans, in the likes of Aristotle, Horace, Cicero, and Plutarch, had written behavior guides. It was during the reign of Louis XIV, in the 15th and 16th centuries in France, that the term etiquette came to provide a precise list of functions related to times, places, proper dress, and behavior. Hence, proper etiquette came to be associated with the upper classes, and till today, more often than not, tends to be considered for only those who would like to emulate their behavior. Proper manners was also a concern for leaders in the democratic society of 18th century America, which resulted in the 19th century having seen hundreds of books on etiquette published in the country. These were designed equally for the common man, school children, as well as for the upper classes. Along with the changes in society came the roles for proper behavior. Society post-World War I became more open as roles of women began to change. Coming to the present scenario, since World War II, changes in society have amounted to nearly a revolution, and writers have created etiquette rules for the new situations. The rules now were no longer for how to behave properly in restricted society, but to provide knowledge of ways to put others at ease. Probably the greatest change worth mentioning since the 1960s has been relationship between men and women toward greater equality. Lord Chesterfield once declared that no provocation whatever could justify any man not being civil to a woman. The perception now seems to be that men are no longer expected to protect women in every instance. Rather, they are to treat them equally and with the consideration due to every person and not to women specifically. The younger generation may have taken this a tad more seriously. We are all taught basic manners from a very young age by our parents, grandparents, and teachers, and we, I would expect, just as they, successfully pass it on to the generation next. Courtesies of how to say hello, thank you, please, and sorry, proper conduct, which are, as we know, the primary, initial, very important fundamentals, which, if taught and followed consistently, instinctively become a part of our lives. Regrettably, however, occurrences in today's setting exhibit and indicate otherwise. Much is yet left wanting. To probe a little deeper would lead us to asking the next question: are good manners under threat in modern society? Since the medieval age, manners have become broader and a more intricate concern. We found ourselves with a lot more to be mannerly about. More material goods, new ways of socializing, different lifestyles, seem to have found manners an impediment to growth. Rights are seen as more important than responsibility, and self-indulgence defeats self-control. Restraint and thoughtfulness are fast heading towards a decline. Few cover their mouths when they yawn. Please and thank you is omitted where we used to expect them. I'm quite certain that the present Gen Next would find it uncomfortable at opening a door for a girl or pulling out a chair for her to be seated. As for removing one's hat at the table, in all probability be deemed ridiculous by today's young men. As palpable as it may seem that every new generation gets further and further away from good etiquette, it must be noted, though, that poor manners and bad attitudes are not a trademark exclusively for the youth alone. There's good news. Before we ostracize or shun them entirely, a glance towards adults of the day would expose their foibles too. One tends to get too busy or uptight to speak the slightest of mistakes by another leads to a tongue-lashing rage of profanity. More and more people are using tight time schedules as an excuse for skipping basic niceties. The most commonly overlooked form that I can think of over the top of my head would be something like forgetting a simple acknowledgement for a message received and a word to say that we would get back with a proper response or whatever may be the case. Obsession with technology seems to be driving us into bubbles. Technology is fast becoming more important than human contact. Gusts of incivility are encountered daily with the I, me, and my phone attitude. Besides establishments suffering because of a lack of good manners among the employees, many a personal relationship, I think, is soured because of a lack of it. I believe having a consistent demeanor improves your credibility. In the professional world, the way you interact with others says a lot about your values and how you do business. Without further ado about current deterioration, let us save the day with an attempt at locating and retrieving, intertwining and knitting together loose ends. Perhaps changing attitudes to gender have made us less secure in our understanding of which courtesies are acceptable, let alone desirable. Old rules about what counts as good behavior are under threat in a world where some think it is patronizing to hold the door open for a woman because of uncertainty about how to behave. Should I hold the door open? Is this my instinct to do so? Or is it something I was taught too long ago for me to recall the lesson? Shyness too sometimes, I think, stops us. Today, along with the novel modern concepts and methods of upbringing, the teaching of manners to children is not dispensed in the belief that they should be free to express themselves. A discussion which we can highlight sometime else. Victorians of the period of sensibilities apparently were hung up on formality as the architect of good manners. It is probable that one hangover from that period is the image problem that manners have today. Many of us associate manners with being tested with other people trying to trip us up, with snobbishness or pretentious habits treated as pompous and archaic. It doesn't have to be that way, you know. Yes, a person who possesses manners is one who gives up his seat for the elderly, allows a lady to go ahead, knows how to greet and meet, one who is not violent, who is not noisy nor rude. All of this together with character which is based on moral principles is in the truth the essence of manners, the proof of which can be traced back to teachings in scriptures. In everything, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control, all essentially leading to good manners. Importantly, manners mean you respect yourself and the person you are with. I think it is important and most crucial to note that respect and sensitivity have nothing to do with class or social ambition. What is missing from the discussion of manners is an awareness of the satisfaction they can give to anyone who practices it. There's an old saying that says, manners are their own reward. It may seem flippant to be taken seriously, yet contains a timeless truth. When we behave in a way that smooths the rough surfaces of someone else's existence, the pleasure centers in our brains are stimulated. Manners are a part of good morals. It sets a standard for human behavior to live life sociably, cooperating with fellow humans. This is but a curtain raiser to etiquettes and good manners, which I thought would help fulfill the purpose of comprehending the facet and aspects, giving you an outlook and viewpoint about it. And if you have been able to realize and recognize its need and worth, you can keep up through my videos following, which will have for you tips and guidelines in areas where we are sometimes confounded of what should be and what should not, both in the professional and personal areas of life. If for nothing else, but definitely a great basis of confidence for yourself and thoughtfulness toward the other person. As quoted by Lillian Watson, don't reserve your best behavior for special occasions. You can't have two sets of manners, two social codes, one for those you want to impress, another for those you consider unimportant. You must be the same to all people. I hope this eye-opener to the hows and whys of manners and etiquette was refreshing. This is, as I said, a curtain raiser to what this series of my videos under FINEZZA, the Life Skill Studio, aspires to strive for. Guidelines to various areas of etiquette, which have us fumbling and tripping from time to time for want of know-hows, both in the professional protocol and social graces. My purpose is to help you tie up those loose ends in this area which you may have somehow missed out on and which are really so much more important than you may have considered or paid attention to in the past. Things that add to your confidence while facing a situation in the professional or personal front, be it in entertaining and hosting guests at home, or traveling out of the country, or even in building and keeping a relationship. So till next time, more for you on my channel. As for my link, it's given in the description below. Looking forward to seeing you again. If you subscribe, like and share. Bye bye for now.